This is why I always say, judge me by my enemies, because I think it's important to understand that if I have disagreements with people who I otherwise think are, on the same path of justice and truth, and are doing their very best to fight for human rights, fight for emancipation, like, I'm not going to spend a whole bit of time shitting on them, even if I have disagreements, even if they're shitting on me. Okay. For years and years, I have maintained this principle, which is that, like, I don't spend a good bit of time talking about people that are, at the end of the day, doing a decent job, sometimes in combating right-wing sentiment. A lot of people did not understand this. Like, part of the reason why I never really gave a shit about Vosh and rarely ever talked about Vosh, regardless of the fact that he was constantly ripping into me and presenting me as this, like, pro-Russia guy because of my anti-NATO position, which if he was a little bit better read, he probably would also arrive at that if he was ideologically consistent, was not because, like, I was scared of Vush's unimaginable intellectual superiority to myself. It was because I just didn't see it as a productive thing. You know what I mean? I wouldn't go so far as to say the same about, like, Destiny. A lot of people, I think, in his community think that I didn't really fight back or push back against Destiny because I was terrified of his intellectual prowess. And moments when I had a much larger audience than he did, and still do. The reason why I didn't do that is because I saw him as a nuisance overall, and I saw him as a parasitic force tacked to my hip that was constantly just feeding off of clips that were completely out of context and creating an environment that was like anti-Hasan for no other reason, just being anti-Hasan. Like, that was the major coalition that he was putting together. But, like, the reason why I stopped the I will never talk about Destiny opinion was because he openly came out as pro-genocide and pro-Israel. There were a bunch of different things that, like, Destiny and Vosh at different points had defended some weird reactionary takes, had weird reactionary tendencies, especially a lot more on the Destiny side, by the way, than Vosh even, before the Israel stuff. But overall, it was like, as long as he's just, actively combating idiotic right-wing positions and, manosphere dipshits and any number of different intellectual giants on the right, it's whatever. Who gives a shit, right? The problem is, he also was seemingly highlighting and platforming Nazis, which I knew about, beefing up their personal clout on the side, trying to rebrand them, advocating that these neo-Nazis were not actually Nazis to his own community in the process, giving their phone numbers to other prominent podcasters in an effort to reignite their career, and taking credit for revitalizing the career of Nazis like Nicolas Fuentes, and also simultaneously defending Israel and being pro-genocide. That was what flipped it for me, where I was like, all right, enough of this, like, silence. I will go after him. His fan base might say, oh, dude, it's because he grew in prominence or some shit. He didn't, okay? He hasn't stopped coming after me. The only thing that changed on my end was when he became a massive propagandist while still claiming that he was on the left. He became a massive propagandist for something that I consider to be unconscionable. A good part of his content is anti-Hasan shit, I know. So for me, that's that's where I draw the line for sure. The reason why I brought this up right now is because I usually apply a level of grace to those who I feel are sufficiently anti-reactionary politics, anti-Nazi. If at any given moment I start recognizing that they are not doing that, then at that moment I'm like, okay, no more grace, no more silence. And I apply this standard pretty evenly across the board to people from many different walks of life, and to virtually every single person. A lot of people actually get mad at me for doing that, and maybe even look for some other cynical reason as to why I'm doing it. They'll say, oh, you're doing it for clout, like with the case of Aiden Ross. You're doing it for clout with the case of Asmongold. No, it's because I want to, I always will hope that people have the capacity to change, and they will come to that, they will come to these conclusions on their own. There's a certain respectability that you navigate with that is very liberal and self-serving. It doesn't move the needle on an issue, but you get a release from the exchange. So it's until you deem them bad actors, no matter the evidence. What? There's a certain respectability that you navigate that is very liberal and self-serving. No, I understand the human condition, I think, better than you do. I'm not as sheltered as you are, I think. If you genuinely think that people do not have the capacity to change and become better versions of themselves, myself included, and many people in this community have gone through that process as well, I don't know what to tell you. Now, it's a foolhardy endeavor. And past a certain point, I do actually drop it. You say Asman will change any day now, Lamau, but like, you know, I think you guys failed to comprehend that. Like, I'm talking about being charitable to people who make a living shitting on me, Asmongold included. I'm saying you get a release from changing people and everyone else isn't wired that way. No, I don't get a fucking personal. Oh my God. It's like saying no act is truly altruistic because you're deriving satisfaction from helping others. Like, yeah, okay, no shit, dude. Yes, you got me. Okay, yes, I do get some semblance of satisfaction from you know, being able to convince people that they're wrong. Yeah, you're right. You arrived at a fucking brilliant conclusion. Does that change the dynamic at all? I understand the importance of solidarity. I recognize that, at least given the current material conditions and the culture that comes out of it, that America is inherently hostile to any sort of anti-capitalist sentiment. So yes, I will try to change people's perspectives and maintain charitability to the best of my ability, understanding that we do live in a white supremacist, homophobic, bigoted, anti-black, anti-trans, misogynistic, patriarchal society. And therefore, a lot of people are going to never really examine the positions that they arrive at due to social conditioning. That's it. I get where people are coming from. Chad is basically yelling at you for having a higher threshold. While I can find it frustrating, it doesn't mean that you're wrong. I didn't say it's bad. I said how it's not how most people are socially acclimated. People think you are wrong, but you just process things differently. Yeah, well, here I am making an argument as to why I have this position. That's what I mean. Okay. Online leftists abandon material analysis when they see a stinky gamer influencer that gets on their nerves. Then they use the student politics like an Old Testament weapon. It's a means of fake praxis. No, but I also understand where the frustrations come from. Also, you called me a liberal. That's why I was frustrated with you. Okay. But I get why people are frustrated. Why the fuck would you not be frustrated when you see your favorite content creator, who is supposed to be the arbiter of all things woke, all of a sudden offering grace to a content creator who you know is like dehumanizing you actively? Okay, I get it. I know where people are coming from. Just don't call it a fucking liberal tendency, because it's not. You ever just have the stream on but not listen? I think many people in this chat do that. Until their entire content becomes fuck Hasan, you don't respond, and I think that's a good thing. Many examples, it derails your thing. You value every single person that disagrees with the take of yours. Yeah. I will say, however, that, you know, this is why we go back to judge me by my enemies, right? If you spend a good bit of time attacking the left over and over again, and the reason why we started this conversation is because we're talking about TYT. If you are constantly trying to farm an audience to show how reasonable you are, by singling out like radical components on the left, on the extreme left, that you are actually directly at odds with, that you are diametrically opposed to show everyone else how good you are, and how moderate you are, how reasonable you are, then yeah, at a certain point you pass the threshold of no return, where you're no longer a leftist at all. You're no longer progressive at all, in my opinion. You know? Yeah. That's what it is. I think that there's no exact science to this. I don't know what the exact point of the point of no return is. I don't know what that threshold is. But just like the Supreme Court justice that once famously said, I'll know it when I see it.